Hey guys, today we're going to be talking briefly about human adaptation and how it affects us as humans. Now, human adaptation is described as successful interaction between a human and its environment. They use different traits and behaviors to successfully interact with the environment. Now, there is a discussion between natural selection and adaptation and if they're both the exact same thing. Now let's debunk that. That is completely wrong. Now, even though they are correlated and a little bit related to each other, they're not the exact same. Now, as mentioned before, adaptation is successful interaction between an organism and its environment, while natural selection is the nature selecting specific individuals that best interact and best able to adapt to the environment for survival. The best way that my teacher described this is that different survival equals to different reproduction with better suitable adapted individuals surviving, those reproducing more. And it really all comes down to the theory of evolution, where the combination of adaptation and the new idea of natural selection is eventually the theory of evolution. Now let's go into more depth. Adaptations are environmental specific because no animal exists independently from their environment. Now there is two ways that we primarily kinda interact with our environment. The first one is culturally adapting to our environment, which is like pretty much adapt. So what we do is we add an extra layer of clothing, something like this. The second way is modify, such as this, where we add and construct the natural landscape to modify and fit our needs. Alright guys, so we know adapt and modify now. Now let's talk about the type of adaptation. There's two types and they are very similar in the name. There's acclimation and acclimatation. So the real difference is the term of how long it lasts. Acclimatation is a short term and it all depends on our stress. This can be between minutes and hours. One of the examples I would like to say it's more of like sweating during the heat. Also, vasodilation. Vasodilation is dispersing the heat. It's usually during the like really hot summers. So because it's a heat stressor, it is usually a short term. So once you leave the stressor, you're good to go. Now the other type of adaptation, it's called acclimatization. Now it's with a C. That's the big difference. This is a long-term response to a type of stressor. Now the one thing about this is that it's a long-term and it is not permanent, but there is a permanent one and it's called developmental acclimatation. Now this one is very tricky because if you have a specific stressor during your development years, it's permanent. A great example is high altitude environments. So if you're a child and you are in high altitude environments, your heart and your lungs are 3 times as big than a normal person in a low environment. This is because the stressor was during your development years. Alright guys, let's review the type of adaptations. Acclimatation is a short-term psychological response to a stressor that is minutes to hours. And acclimatization with a Z is a long-term response to a stressor. Now, both of these can be not permanent and a regular function returns after the stressor is away. Unless it's this one right here, which happens to be in your development years. So that one is called development acclimatization. The way I differentiate the both is one is with a C and the other one doesn't have a C. And the C is for long hours of sleeping I like to do. Lastly, there is one last adaptation which is called genetic adaptation. Genetic adaptation is heredity, which means that it's passed down in genes. And one of great examples is sickle cell anemia. It is permanent and it will not go away.